Hi everyone, welcome to another Table Talk. So today I wanted to just cover a couple little housekeeping things that I've discovered since doing the firmware upgrade, and also talk, I guess, sort of maybe not quite my final evaluation because obviously I haven't used it for very long, but I'm gonna kind of give you my good evaluation. When I started this video series, one of my goals was, just to sort of give this very inexpensive and popular FlySky FS-i6 transmitter, a good evaluation as a beginner transmitter for park jets that people could start off with, maybe grow into, and maybe it'll be the only transmitter you might ever need. Pardon me, without having to spend a whole lot of money. All right, so a couple of things. Ground Control RC, who's got just an awesome channel on YouTube. He's got just amazing videos on tips, tutorials, reviews of different airplanes that he's built, modifications that he's made to them. Just an outstanding, very informational channel. He and I have been sharing thoughts and ideas back and forth on YouTube now for several months. So I would encourage you to go check that out. So anyway, he posed a question to me when I made the video about getting the timer to work after doing the upgrade, and it wasn't anything that I ever had thought about at that point in time because I essentially only had one airplane in this transmitter currently that I'm flying. So the question he posed is the timer individual or is it global, i.e., when you set it for one plane, it stays that way for another plane, and each plane is individual. Well, interestingly enough, it's actually more of a global timer. So if you set the timer in one plane for 4 minutes and 30 seconds, it will automatically reset it. It will be the exact same across all the airplanes that you have in your model memory. So what you'll have to do, or what as I got experimenting, trying to find out that information when Ground Control RC asked me the question, was if you've selected it, like I have mine, I put my timer in channel 10, or I have it selectable on a switch, and the value, I think I put a value of 1100. It goes from what did I say, 10 or 0 to 2200. So it will show up the same. Now, one thing that doesn't carry over is if you've set your timer on a switch or the throttle or however you've set it for that particular plane where you set the timer, it doesn't carry that over. So then what happens is if you say, let's say you build a new airplane, you've just got a new airplane, you're getting ready to bind it up and everything else, is it will take the timer that you've already set, the latest time that you've set the timer, but it won't take the fact that you have a switch. So what will happen then is, you get your plane all programmed in, and when you go back to the home page of that model, your timer will start to count. So you have to go in, you have to remember to go in every time you build a new model, to go in there and make sure that you've set whatever switch it is. Like if you're always going to have it on switch D or switch A, whatever switch you like, you need to make sure that that's there, or the thing is going to continue to count down in that particular model without you telling it to start. So that, I guess, it's a bit of a pain in the butt, because then, if you go to the field, you got a couple planes, one plane, for me example, I got a park jet. I normally fly those for about, I set the timer for 4.5 minutes on those. But then if I had, something else where, let's say the timer is 6 or 7 minutes, when I go to that plane, I want to reset the timer to 6 or 7 minutes. Now, remembering that, if I fly that new plane for a couple of times while my batteries are charging for my park jet, and I go back to my park jet, I'm going to have to reset the timer then as well. So that's, for me, that's going to be something I'm going to need to keep an eye on. But again, I have to keep reminding myself, the upgrade, the firmware upgrade was free, and other than the cost of the cable, a lot of people, a lot smarter than me, put a lot of work into it. And I'd far rather have a timer, and if it means I've got to take a few seconds, when I switch planes at the field, to go and double check that, I've got the timer set to where I want it, I guess that's just a fact of life. And again, the other thing is, you know, if I build a new plane, probably one of the first things I'll do is while I'm in my menu doing all the other things to, you know, program elevons and whatever else I'm programming, is I'll make sure that as part of that, before I exit out of that, get my basic programming done, is that I make sure that I've put the proper switch for the timer so that it doesn't start on its own. So anyway, long story there, I guess, but thanks very much to Ground Control RC for asking that question, because it forced me to go in and learn that, and then I just wanted to pass it on to you folks. At least that's what happened with my transmitter. You know, maybe if you've downloaded a different version, I don't know if there's a couple of different versions of the firmware similar to what I used, but that's, you can, you know, it's something to check and keep an eye on anyway. The second thing, and this is kind of quirky, I don't know what happened was maybe, you know, this is advertised as having a 20 model memory, and quite honestly, I don't know that I ever went and checked that before I did the firmware upgrade. But now that I've done the firmware upgrade, I only have 19 memory slots for planes. Not a big deal for me, because you know, on average, even if this was my primary transmitter, I don't normally have on average more than half a dozen or 8 airplanes maximum in my hangar at one time, so that's not a big problem. But it might be something, you know, to consider, like to double check, make sure that when you get the thing brand new, that you have a look, make sure that, you know, there is 20 in there. Again, they've had a bad production run, or if you do decide to do the firmware upgrade, you know, just go in and have a quick check and see how many channels you have, or how many slots, memory slots for planes you have available in your transmitter. Okay, so I think that those are the housekeeping things for you know, for now that I can remember. If there's something really glaring that comes up over the next few months, I'll come back and cover those. So I did talk a little bit, I think, in one of my last videos. The other thing I might do is a battery mod, but there's no real urgency on that. So I just did a little bit of math here, so let's sort of talk about you know, value for the dollar here on this transmitter. I mean, I've said it many times before, and I don't mean to keep you know, gushing over it, because, you know, it is, you know, these two radios, you know, side by side. I mean, you know, this is a Turnigy 9 9X transmitter, which is not, you know, one of the most high quality, but it's definitely a bit more robust and you know, probably old school. But you know, I just can't really find, I mean, other than, you know, a few of those little shortcomings, you know, even after doing the firmware upgrade, I just can't really say anything terribly bad, you know, bad about this little transmitter. I mean, you know, I just have to keep reminding myself that, you know, I only paid $43 for this transmitter and a receiver. I paid, let me look at my price list here, I paid just under $4 for this cable to upgrade the firmware. You know, that some great smart folks have spent a lot of time writing so that I could have a timer, 10 channels, a bunch of other stuff, you know, like the expandability. You know, if I was to go into quads or get receivers using telemetry, all that sort of stuff, it's just outstanding. And again, this cost me less than $4 to do that. You know, I went through, I've got a blog post which I'll link down below. I did a blog post. I finally got around to getting my cables. There'll be links to these two cables. This one plugs into the back of the transmitter. This one goes into the microphone port of my computer. These two cables together cost $3.07, I think. One from eBay, one from Banggood. And I just downloaded a free simulator online called RC Desk Pilot. So anyway, I would encourage you, that link to the link to that blog post with lots of screenshot, you know, pictures that I took just with my my cell phone, showing you how I sort of went step by step and some things that I had to do to, pardon me, to get it to work properly. So anyway, as it sits right now, I've paid $49.96 to be where I am. And you know, when I look back, I think I may have mentioned way back in my intro video, my very first transmitter. You know, again, we're talking about a lot of time here, and technology has just gone nuts. But you know, my first transmitter was a Spectrum DX6i, which cost me the equivalent of about $150 American, and it was nowhere near, you know, compared to this, with all of this stuff, the firmware upgrade obviously, which was free. This is far and away a better transmitter for park jets, you know, because I can do essentially everything. The only thing that I haven't really figured out, and I don't know if it's even capable, and it's not really terribly important to me, because I do have two different transmitters, is you know, if I had a full airplane with 6 servos, you know, elevons, ailerons, rudders, and I wanted to mix in spoilerons or flaperons or whatever for doing high alpha or something like that, I don't know that I have the capability to do that. But again, that might be something else. I might need to buy a 10-channel receiver in order to find that out, but that's really not important to me. So, you know, it took a little bit of time to get used to handling it, because it is smaller and it is lighter. But you know, if you're just starting off in this hobby, or in park jets, you know, definitely this is great for park jets. With my DX6i, once I wanted to start going beyond just elevons only, I had to start adding in Y harnesses and onboard mixers. Just became very complicated. I added a lot of weight and bulk to my airplane. With this, I don't need to do that. I can do essentially everything I need to do. So I would definitely say, you know, two big thumbs up, not while flying, but 2 big thumbs up for this FlySky FS-i6. I am very, very impressed with it, and I would have absolutely no problem whatsoever if someone asked me, you know, what's the best, you know, as of right now, July 2018 anyway, what's the best starter transmitter available. Now I know that there are other, I think Turnigy has an i6 which is similar to this, so I'm not just, you know, I'm not here to shill the FlySky brand, but there are a few that are very similar to this. So, but this one, hands down, I think is the best starter transmitter for park jets, for me anyway, and I think for just about any other kind of, you know, basic plane, as long as you don't need a whole lot of, you know, if you're flying some big gas warbird or something and you needed all kinds of extra channels, you know, I don't know if 10 channels would be enough, but anyway, that you'd have to experiment with that. But anyway, yeah, gets my full wholehearted recommendation. And again, I don't work for Banggood, I don't work for FlySky, I get no kickbacks, I'm not an affiliate or anything else, but I would have no problem whatsoever putting my name to recommending this transmitter as just a great starter. So anyway, I want to thank you for following along. Again, as I said at the start, a big thanks to Andrew Newton, who put out some great beginner videos on getting this. I really was able to get on my way to learning about it. Mirko FPV, who did the 2 videos that I used to essentially get sorted out with the firmware upgrade, and another video for the getting it interfaced with the simulator, the software and everything else I had to download. Again, the name escapes me right now, but I will have the link to the RC Groups page. I think it's about 229 or 230 pages long, on the upgrade mods to the FlySky FS-i6. So thank you to those people who took the time to write all those and maintain them and fix the bugs. It's you know, it really just expands this radio, very inexpensive radio, just unbelievably. So there we go, folks. You know, in my opinion, $50 very well spent. I would have no problem whatsoever using this as my backup radio, and maybe if need be at some point in time my primary radio. I'm really impressed with this transmitter. So thanks for coming along on the journey. Again, there might be some other videos in the series, you know, with other minor upgrades down the road as I, you know, get, you know, maybe a year down the road, give you an idea of how I think about the durability. But thanks very much for watching, Blue skies, calm winds to everyone. Park jet noise, yeah, the sound of freedom, baby. Take care.